Party! Oh yeah! Where's the party, guys? How's it going, everybody? My name is Eric, and this is Out of the Groove. Special celebration episode because today, March 10th, is Matt Kenseth's birthday. And what better way to commemorate such an amazing milestone than by celebrating it with all of you? Honestly, I guess celebrating it with Matt himself would be better, but wait, that's a great idea. We should be celebrating this with Matt himself. Matt, you people don't care. I mean, I care, but it's not my birthday. It's Matt's birthday. We should be celebrating this with Matt Kenseth himself. I mean, you don't turn 46 just any day. I mean, come on. Okay, I gotta pack my stuff. I need to find him. Matt's gotta be out there somewhere. We gotta go. Gotta find Matt. Son of God! Alright, so Captain's Log, we're going on a journey in today's episode of Out of the Groove to try and find Matt Kenseth. I have no idea where he possibly could be right now, but there's been sightings. There's been rumored sightings that Matt is nearby, so I'm going to see if I can track him down, and I'm going to bring you guys with me. So we're going on the road for today's Out of the Groove, but, you know, like most road trips, you got to find a way to pass the time. And I think, since it's Matt Kenseth's birthday, one of the most, underappreciated drivers, I think, in all of NASCAR history, I think it only makes sense that we take this time and count down the top 5 moments of Matt Kenseth's NASCAR career. So join me, shall you? Number 5 most memorable moment of his career, I would say, was his first win with Joe Gibbs Racing at Las Vegas in 2013. Only 3 races into his career in the 20 car, since driving for Roush Racing, Roush Fenway, his entire career to that point. He'd been with Roush Fenway for 12, 14, 15 years. And then he goes to Gibbs and just 3 races in gets a win. And that season he would win 7 races in 2013, which was a career high. 7 wins! I mean, that stood for the most that we'd seen in a while until Truex won 8 last season. So, dang it, Truex. But, yeah, so Matt Kenseth, I think number 5 on his list would be that win at Las Vegas. I remember watching that in a hotel room near Corpus Christi, Texas, on the beach. I was watching that race from my hotel room. I left the beach, all my friends were at the beach. I left the beach to go to my hotel and watch that race, and I'm glad I did, because getting to see Matt win that thing was stupendous, to say the least. So that's number 5. Number 4 is tough. I'm going to make number 4 the Penske incidents across 2014 and 2015. I'm going to kind of lump a couple instances into one here because I think they all kind of are all parts of one large story, and I think that should be number 4. We've all seen the highlights, the clips, of Matt Kenseth versus Joey Logano. Matt Kenseth wrecking Joey Logano at Martinsville. Very uncharacteristic of Matt Kenseth to lose his cool like that and to let his emotions carry over that heavily onto the racetrack. But that all it stemmed from the playoffs, the chase in 2014 after, he and Brad Keselowski got into a little bit. We all remember, or many of us remember, Matt Kenseth going stealth mode on Brad Keselowski and basically tackling him, giving him a bear hug between the haulers in the infield post-Charlotte, which was wild. One of the craziest shots in my mind I can ever remember. I was super thrilled to see him go after Keselowski. After Keselowski had his old drama. A lot of people didn't like Brad after that race. But then 2015, after Keselowski wrecked Kenseth at Richmond, a few weeks later, Joey spins him at Kansas. Kenseth wasn't feeling too great about Penske. So then after Keselowski wrecked him again at Martinsville, I think that's when emotions boiled over. And I gotta say, when Matt Kenseth originally wrecked Joey Logano, remember, the crowd went wild. They were thrilled. Partially, I think, because it meant that Jeff Gordon was going to be in the lead now. And so I think that was probably part of why they were cheering. But I'd like to think they were also cheering on Matt Kenseth. In my head, I was in a shock. I didn't know how to feel at first. I wasn't thrilled, but I wasn't angry either. I was like, whoa, what is going on here? But I gotta say, that moment will stick in my mind for years to come, probably for most of the rest of my life, especially as long as I'm a NASCAR fan, because that was wild. So that would be my number 4. Man, we are making some good time. Shoot. All right. Matt? You out here, buddy? Could have swore I saw someone who looked just like him. Number 3 for my top moments of Matt Kenseth's career would be I think you got to go with the 2003 championship. I mean, he won a Cup Series championship. Sure, it was, 15 years ago now, but he won a championship, so it's hard to leave that off the top 5. So I think that should come in number 3. I was not a NASCAR fan in 2003. In fact, I didn't really become a fan until around 2004, 2005. I went to my first race in 2005, and that was incredible, but I kind of got to know NASCAR a little bit before then, so I didn't see Matt Kenseth win the championship. So I can only go off of historical statistics, historical tellings, and many people credit the fact that we have a playoff system today, a chase to kind of add some drama to the end of the year. A lot of people credit that as a large part of that being due to the fact that Matt Kenseth dominated the points in 2003. He only had 1 win that year, but he led the series in top 10s and top 5s. He actually clinched the points championship with still 2 races, or with still the second to last race of the season. So they didn't even have to go to the last race of the season. They already knew who the champion was, but I think Matt Kenseth actually blew an engine and DNF'd in the final race of the season, but since he'd already locked up the points the week before, it didn't matter. So that's how bad he thumped the rest of the field in 2003, and I think as a result, factoring a few different things as well, of course, NASCAR created the chase. So you can thank Matt Kenseth. For any of you old school fans who hate the new playoffs and stuff like that, you can thank Matt Kenseth for that. Moving on, number 2, the second top moment of Matt Kenseth's career, in my opinion, would be his 2012 Daytona 500 win. Now, he won 2 Daytona 500s, and you could argue the one in 2009 is a bigger deal because it was his first, but that was a rain-shortened race. I'm not a big fan of race-shortened wins. They definitely don't have the same emotional impact most of the time as a normal, checkered flag win would have. But the 2012 Daytona 500 was wild, just in general. That was the race, many of you remember, Juan Pablo Montoya running into the jet dryer, causing the track, the Daytona International Speedway, literally caught fire. Like a 30-foot wall of fire enveloped the entrance to turn 3. They red flagged the race for 2-3 hours? That's after the race had already been rain delayed. The race was scheduled for Sunday afternoon, and rain pushed it to Sunday night. Then they had to cancel it. They moved it to Monday afternoon. Then they had to keep pushing it. They didn't start the race until Monday night. And then with the jet fire incident, race didn't finish until early Tuesday morning, past midnight is when the race actually finished. And after that long marathon, they got all 500 miles in, and more than 500 miles actually. They went to overtime. And it was Matt Kenseth being pushed by his teammate and one of my other sentimental favorite drivers of all time, Greg Biffle, held off fan favorite Dale Earnhardt Jr. to get the Daytona 500 win. The finish wasn't anything super spectacular. It was dramatic, of course, but it wasn't a super spectacular finish or anything. But just when you look at that whole weekend, at least as a Matt Kenseth fan, it was one of the biggest roller coasters of emotions you could experience in a weekend. From are we going to get the season started? I missed school that Monday because they were originally scheduled to run the race Monday afternoon, and my parents understood that I was a NASCAR fanatic and that this was very important to me, so they let me miss school that day. And then the race wasn't even run during the day. It was run late that night, and I went to school the next morning, even though I only had about 4 hours of sleep. But yeah, I just remember that one. That was one of the most incredible races I've seen in my lifetime, and it's gonna be one that's there hasn't been much that's been able to top it. So that would be number 2 for me. Oh, Matt, is that you? Oh, I'm sorry. My bad, Brad. No, I just passed a Ford dealership right there. It's a Ford dealership. I wonder if I don't think Matt would be hanging out at a Ford dealership. I mean, unless he's going back to his roots, but I don't think he's there. I think we're going to keep going. I am determined to find Matt Kenseth and celebrate his birthday with him. This isn't negotiable. So where are we at now? Number 1 for my top moment of Matt Kenseth's NASCAR career, in my opinion, and this might be surprising because in the grand scheme of things, it didn't mean much at the time, but emotionally it meant a lot. I would say his top moment of his career was his most recent win, his final win of his Cup Series career, it would seem, last season at Phoenix in November, just a few months ago. Yeah, I would say that was his greatest moment, or at least as a fan of his, that was probably my favorite moment. I mean, I cried real tears when Matt Kenseth won that race at Phoenix. It was so amazing. It was just unexpected, really, in every way, and the emotions behind it were incredible. I mean, I didn't cry when the Astros won the World Series. After 55 years, the Houston Astros finally won a World Series, and I didn't cry, I've seen Toy Story 3, Coco, Pixar movies. I haven't really cried. I've teared up a little. Don't get me wrong, Coco made me tear up a little, but I haven't cried. But Matt Kenseth winning that race at Phoenix, his second to last race of his career, it would seem, was just beautiful. It was just a beautiful, beautiful moment. All the competitors congratulating him afterwards, all the nice things being said, him getting up on top of the car. He was 45 at the time. I know he's an ancient 46 now, but even at 45, climbing up on top of that car and hopping off like that, I don't think Tony Stewart could have done that. Let me put it that way. But yeah, man, what a race. What a day. What a career for Matt Kenseth, huh? I know Matt Kenseth never was talked about the same way Dale Jr. or, Jeff Gordon or Tony Stewart was talked about, but Matt Kenseth was always there. He was always just as good as them, at least during the 2000s and stuff, He was always right there with them, and he just always flew under the radar. I always respected Matt Kenseth's work ethic and just how humble he really came across, It was always about the team, it was about the accomplishment, it wasn't always about him whenever he did something great, and, and he didn't make it a big deal. He didn't, start much drama with anybody. He finished some drama with Keselowski and Logano. He finished that drama, but he didn't start drama with people. He was just a stand-up guy. I've never met him. I've never met him in person. I mean, I've had him sign things for me in person, but I've never, talked to him. I've never really met him or had a conversation with Matt Kenseth. But I would love to, because I think he is a great role model for anyone who grows up liking sports like I have. I'm a fan of baseball, basketball, football. I've watched tons of sports. There's plenty of athletes that make good role models, but in my opinion, Matt Kenseth would be one of the best. I think he handled himself professionally and as a person about the best you possibly can, especially if you're a professional athlete. And it's sad that he's not racing in the Cup Series anymore. I gotta say, sad. But he's had a great career, a lot of great things to think back and look back on. And as a fan, I'm sad. I was satisfied, I suppose. So yeah, I guess that's it. Top 5 moments of Matt Kenseth's career. Pretty decent, I guess. I don't know. Oh, Jesus! Matt! Stay with me, buddy! Stay with me! You're only 46! Why?